Hey! Today we will finally talk about the huge number of improvements and custom spare parts for Begode Master. I know that many people have been waiting a long time for this video, but unfortunately not everything always goes as we would like. So today I will tell you about what has already been done and what still needs to be done, and what difficulties we encountered. Let's go, and we will start with a general view. On the parking stand, EUCyou looks like this. Let's start in order as it was produced. First of all, it's the pedal hangers, and here we have the biggest pedal lowering of 65 mm. That's the kind of pedal hangers that you need to feel comfortable in city asphalt riding. Unfortunately, we have completely lowered suspension. I will talk about that a little later, but it seems that the pedals are quite low, although they will go up 7 cm. Then the suspension will be pumped up. Here I'll pin a link to how the wheel behaves on the 30 mm and 65 mm pedal hangers. At the moment we have 3 sizes of pedal hangers: 30, 45 and 65 mm. All of them give unambiguously better handling and control of the wheel in comparison to the stock. Here you have to choose according to your task and height, but you will have to choose based on your height and use applications. 30 mm is a bit lower than the stock and will suit short riders or those who like to ride off-road and heavily mixed terrain. 45 mm is absolutely universal and suitable for riders of different height and riding style. 65 mm is purely asphalt riding. But of course, somewhere in the park to pass on a dirt road will be easy, but it is worth remembering that the pedals will be quite low, so the suspension will need to be pumped up hard, so pedals wouldn't clip on sharp turns. There is also one more important point than lowering the pedal hangers. Unlike lifting, we change the distance between the pedals and the top part of the wheel. With lift kit, this distance is maintained regardless of the size of the elevation. And here we see how the knee becomes closer to the wheel shell. With my height of 1 meter 88 centimeters, that is for people below 185 centimeters, then riding standing up, this may give discomfort, but then riding sitting, it will not be a problem, rather the opposite. Naturally, all pedal hangers are made of aviation grade aluminum and covered with a protective coating, so that there is no oxidation. All pedal hangers give a pedal opening angle of 12 degrees, which is optimal for control and anatomy. Also, all pedal hangers have screws fixing the pedal axis. Now it's logical to get to the pedals. As many people know, our pedals are a kind of art, since we produce them using manual milling machines, not CNC, which gives us great flexibility and allows us to make various shapes and size in small quantities, but this requires high professionalism and good equipment. According to your drawings or sketches, we can make individual pedals for you. Possible option can be discussed in personal conversation. In this version, these are black matte pedals with one large slot cut out, 220 mm by 95 mm of working size. Spikes can be installed with more or less quantities. There is sandpaper on all pedals, which is especially important for riders who came from skateboarding and like a high degree of leg freedom. For precise control of the EUCyou, we paint all pedals with powder, which provide a huge variety of colors. Not everyone knows that Begode has already had 4 pedal hangers modifications so far, so sometimes some pedals don't fit on the pedal hangers correctly. We always specify wheels model that pedals are meant to, so we can avoid incorrect installation. I want to draw your attention to the weight. These pedals weigh about 520 grams a piece, while the original honeycomb is about 950 grams, which is a huge difference. We produce additional stands that don't bulge much, are made of aluminum, provide much great stability to the wheel, especially when additional accessories are installed on the wheel. The wheel with the original stand often falls back. We also have new generation Muscles jumping pads installed here. They have an increased area of fit. As the wheels are getting heavier, we recommend installing them on a self-adhesive Velcro of a good manufacturer. This will allow you to adjust the position of the pads and will hold it securely. The pads adds control and helps us to jump, while we are not strongly connected to the wheel. Bottom part of the pads is wide, so that is more comfortable to jump, and they are flat on top, so that the leg can be free movement on the surface of the wheel during acceleration and braking. From above, you can clearly see how the size of the pedals repeats the size of the shoe and doesn't stick out to the side, which of course is much more comfortable than driving through bottlenecks and eliminates the risk of catching the pedal intuitively. Also, the pedals have small length. We love the old school, then the foot hangs off the pedal. But according to your request, we will produce pedals of any size. As you can see, we have improvised wheel test side pads installed. It's just a piece of foam glued with leather. This is not a commercial sample, but just a quick solution so as not to rub your foot against the wheel. There are a lot of different side pads on the market for different tastes. EUCyou doesn't produce side pads and does not plan it. Next, we have one of the most interesting accessories. This is protective fiberglass cover. For this wheel model, the shell is made entirely using a new technology. It is modular, consists of 4 parts connected by screws, with a countersunk head. Screws and key are included. The shell allows you to carry the wheel, as the vertical reinforcement rests against the frame, and there are special places for grabbing in front and behind. Now I will show you how this happens in practice. There are no difficulties and no handles are needed, which can be traumatic. Also, when driving while sitting, you can safely hold onto the headlight. The shell is solid on top and is put on a soft factory part, which serves as a shock dampener in case of fall. For lovers of riding while sitting on this cover, you can cut out a stylish pillow seat and install it on tape or Velcro. All EUC shells have logos. I can't help but note that the shell is made of fiberglass using high pressure double matrix technology. The shell is very light for its size, thin and durable, weighs 2.7 kilograms. It has dynamic thickness of 4 layers in front and back and 3 layers in other places. That is, the places of greater risk of crash are reinforced. Painting is possible almost any, but we don't paint in chrome and gold. Chrome is very quickly damaged and scratched, and gold looks like yellow-brown, not realistic. In this shell, It is a purple candy color with an abstract pattern. Such a painting is quite complicated. We will be happy to paint your shell exclusively, but the more difficult the painting, the more expensive it is. We recommend gluing the shell at the bottom to the battery boxes on pieces of 2 or 3 cm double-sided tape. Be sure to tell you about the custom aluminum plugs of the battery boxes. They are made of aviation aluminum and can be painted or not. You can see them right here, and you can't look at them from above, but I'll attach a photo. There is necessary especially in cases there is no fiberglass shell, since then installing accessories on batteries or then falling. The factory plugs are prone to breakage, and there are already such cases. We did not develop the battery boxes so that the price, weight and dimensions would not increase. Also, this could create a conflict than using other accessories such as covers, bumpers and more. It's cold enough outside, -5 degrees Celsius, but it feels like -9. So the tape froze and the side pads fell off. But we can see how cool a clean shell looks. Let's take another look at the plugs. They are attached to the brackets and look like factory ones. Of course, it's impossible not to praise ourselves. Since EUCyou are premium quality products. All the guys are riders. Everyone loves their job very much and do things like for themselves. Here you can see that a clear 3D printing. That nice kind of material. How cool the pedals are painted with powder, and how the shell is covered with spray. How smooth and identical the lines and shapes are. That high quality pedal hangers, and how different little things are taken into account. The soul is really invested in these spare parts, and they are all made by hand. We are proud of it. Finally, we got to the most important part, which a lot of people are waiting for. These are tuned suspension linkages. Let's analyze the suspension in details. Unfortunately, the suspension is completely loaded today, and later I will tell you why. The linkages made of 5 mm titanium and painted with the powder paint. All connections are equipped with 4 mm bearings. All axles are made of titanium too. This configuration is made for the RockShox Seedlux 190 by 45 mm shock absorber. The Master has no vertical surfaces in this place, and we had to make them with a milling cutter for the first prototype installation. But in the second version of the linkage, this will not be required, because the irregularities will be leveled by nylon spacers. Here you can see just a black stylish nylon. Dark purple is our signature color, and here it's perfectly matched the color of the shell. The linkage can be painted in different colors. There is an option without painting, but we will not use it in the future, since the paint layer has a thickness, and this is important. Then selecting gaskets for proper assembly. The thickness of the parts should be the same. For us, the suspension design was the first experience, and 4 people took part in it. To begin with, it was necessary to create a 3D model, so that there was a correct suspension stroke and there was a progression, so that necessarily did not stick out beyond the dimension of the wheel. Signs falls or bumps can damage the entire system. For such a compact system, there are many restrictions of free space from the bottom and top. We tried several options, printed from a plastic and refined it. Now the first revision has been installed. There is already a second one. Due to a certain combination of circumstances, we had a problem in the form of a broken air valve. The suspension was developed in one place, tried on another. The final assembly was in the third place, pumped with different pumps, and so on. In general, something happened that promoted us an important nuance. The suspension can be inflated either on a special stand or lying on its side. It's not allowed to pump suspension in a normal standing position of wheel. The standard pump failed almost immediately, and the one we bought on AliExpress turned out to be even worse. You can see it on the screen. At the first pumping of this pump, the hose burst. Because of this, all the air from the shock absorber came out and whole wheel went down, which is why the valve clamped and broke. We are solving the problem with the shock absorber, but we already have snow and cold, so I'm telling the situation as is it. I'm not embellishing anything, and I'm sharing my experience with you, because many people are waiting for information and want to order this kit at last. Of course, I really want to take a ride and understand how much better the suspension has become in real life, because it feels much better at home than the standard. I really wanted to show it now, but I will show it a little later, especially since it is necessary to assemble a second revision of the suspension and also check it. A very important point is the shock absorber themselves. Since branded shock absorbers like RockShox or Fox have a landing size of half an inch, it's equal 12.7 millimeters, and all Chinese shock absorbers have a size of 12 millimeters, which is why we had to develop different adapters. Also, the dimensions of the fastening ear themselves are slightly different, which required checking for gaps and gaskets washers. We also want to check the reinforcing jumper between the links. Such jumpers are not on the King Song and their levers work fine, but we want to be safe and add rigidity. If you are competent people in suspension systems and you are watching it, please write your comment. The new linkages look like this. You can see the bearings, you can see a different shape for the air valve. Here is a Chinese D&M shock absorber. It has adjustment switches made a little differently. RockShox can hold 325 psi. D&M only 275 psi. And this shock absorber has climbed 50 mm stroke, but in practice it seems to be 40 mm. Also, there is no scale showing the stroke of the piston. The RockShox has a scale, but is not visible when the shock absorber is installed. On tests, the suspension stroke remained 70 mm, and the piston stroke became 70% as recommended by the manufacturer. Maintenance and service of the wheel were carried out by EUCyou. I will leave a link to his channel in the description. See in more detail what was done with the wheel. Not only our spare parts was installed on the wheel, for example a brake light cast from resin, very high quality, solid and durable. Bumpers, oil seals, etc. are installed. Of course, I will also leave all links to the EUCyou under the video. To be honest, I'm already frozen. The screen at the wheel has stopped showing. There is already a third battery on the camera. I don't seem to have forgotten anything. I hope you were interested. Ask questions in the comments and in the Telegram. Wish you safe riding, good weather and top service. Good luck!